Sup nerds, it's me Luciana, your local internet parasite, and today we are going to be talking about the old age debate of alt art versus new art, or as I like to call it, Renaissance versus contemporary art. So go get yourself a blanket, maybe a cup of coffee or tea, and let's get into it. Every time that art gets mentioned, one of the things that I always see is people comparing it to old art. What do I mean by this? Basically, you will be online and then there's somebody that brings up some new art piece that has been done nowadays, whether it be an illustration or a sculpture or some like performance art, and it's compared to the old art from the Renaissance or the Greek times and told like art used to be good back in the day, or art used to be this or that, and modern art or contemporary art as it's known today is bad and not good whatsoever.
Not just that, but many of these paintings have been attacked due to the negative attention they have gathered. A famous example of this is Barnett Newman's painting, Who's Afraid of Red, Yellow, and Blue 3. As written by Raymond Piper, Gerard Jan van Balderen, motivated by a visceral dislike of the painting's simplicity, slashed the painting with a box cutter, causing extensive damage. A recent case of art vandalization is The Dirty Corner by Anish Kapoor. The sculpture was vandalized in 2015 when it resided in the Palace de Versailles. It was even called by onlookers the Queen's Nether Regions. And after it was vandalized twice, the artist spoke out and said that it was due to the anti-Semitic sentiment there was in France.
But you would also see a lot of this modern art get vandalized and also harmed in the prospect of saying that it's just too simplistic and just not good enough. It's really, really bad. Not just that, but it also are not even being compared to the actual genre that the art form is from. Modern art is hated because it's misunderstood, but it's usually not even being compared in its own genre. For example, the majority of art online that you would see are usually illustrations or cartoonish art. These are usually the most popular ones, but they're being compared to oil paintings and traditional art that usually has nothing to do with them or is a completely different source of information compared to the other times. It's like comparing apples to fish. You cannot compare a cartoon art style to an oil painting from the 1900s. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
But then again, there has always been classism in the art community, but it's also a debate between highbrow and lowbrow art. Highbrow art is usually known as traditional paintings, mostly done over oil or acrylics, sculptures, ceramics, performance art like ballet or opera, etc., while lowbrow art is known more as comic books, graffiti, digital art, illustration, animations, textiles like knitting or crochet, pattern making, etc. Highbrow art usually is regarded as the good type of art, the type of art that you would see in museums, that it's liked and that everyone sort of sees, while lowbrow art is sort of seen as the type of art that is done by lower classes that is not really seen as real art. And this was mostly only seen by nobles back in the day. But nowadays you can actually see that this has been challenged and it's not really the case. And I believe that it's the reason why modern art, or what is actually called contemporary art, is actually judged by the masses nowadays.
Usually the differences between these two is the classism associated with the old times in art. What do I mean by this? A lot of the art pieces, they were only truly seen by people who were nobles or monarchs or came from wealthy backgrounds. So art was already classist in the way that you would only really see these people appreciate it or hire people to do works like that. And usually the artists that were hired to do this would basically become the pets of these people, and they will do paintings for them over and over again until they couldn't anymore. But paintings and art itself was also monopolized by the Catholic Church and many other religious institutions to showcase what art they wanted to see. One of the things that you would also see is that the majority of the art that is quote-unquote bad is usually just two very specific genres. It's either performance art or abstract art. Either they're too simplistic or they're just like too out there for people to really enjoy it.
Two works of art that I would like to actually point out are I Can't Help Myself by Suang Yang and Peng Yu, which is the machine that always pushes oil onto itself in a never-ending cycle. It showcases the never-ending performance the average person does through life and how their work is never ending to keep themselves alive. Another one that I would like to point out is Rhythm Zero by Mirana Abramovic, where she stood still for 6 hours with 72 items around her and let the public do as it please. It not only showcases the reality of human psychology and how they can easily dehumanize people that they're allowed to control, but also this project itself is basically the birth giver or the mother of performance art itself, as it was one of the first ever performance pieces that became quite popular in the public.
Another way that a contemporary art has also been judged and also being considered lowbrow art and not good enough or bad art was also during World War II, when Hitler, out of all people, decided to do an exhibition called Degenerate Art to basically showcase all the bad art that should not be associated with like what he thought was like the best example of what Germany should be. One of the arguments that I would also like to bring up is that art itself without the artist is not fully a story. It's only half of a story, and the rest of the story you're supposed to put the pieces together, specifically in some genres like abstract art and also surrealistic art. An example of this is how in the play Natureland we see a little bit of this.
A work of art is only what an artist says. If there is no artist, there is only silence.
Not so. There are works of art that speak to me even though I don't know who the artist is. What matters is what is being said, not who says it.
I love you.
Indeed.
When I say this, it will provoke a different feeling in you than when, let's say, your wife says it?
Oh, my wife.
Or Frau Dr. Gunther?
Oh, that's true enough.
And when my husband says I love you, that's different too. The effect changes according to who is speaking. There is no statement without the person making it. There is no art without the artist.
But this artist died a long time ago and needn't concern us now.
But he's still talking to you, and you're dying to hear what he's saying.
Art is supposed to be different. It's supposed to be criticized. It's supposed to be interpreted, and it's supposed to be controversial and bring something new into your life. It's not meant to just be this homogenous over and over painting of the same thing over and over again, but instead it's supposed to depict what we see in our day-to-day life and even see beyond that and what's in our minds and depict that. Seeing art as just this basic concept that needs to be always beautiful and aesthetically pleasing to the eye and always realistic and always have this crazy amount of effort really takes away from like all the genres of art that have shaped art now that we see it nowadays. You can say this with the dodo movement. You can see this with the surrealistic movement. Even with the abstract movement, you see artists trying new things and trying to steer away from what exactly is what good art is supposed to be. They're basically trying to not challenge themselves, but they're trying to challenge the viewer to see art in a new light, where something doesn't need to be beautiful, but it needs to be different. It needs to say something. Artists have more freedom than ever to be able to draw whatever they want and to make whatever they want, which I think it's beautiful in its own way. This is why art is only half the story. Now, the argument that I just brought up was just with art that you would see in exhibitions and museums and things that are much more out there. But what about the art that we see online? The illustrations, the cartoonish styles, the really, really bad anatomy we see online. Well, I would argue that this art inherently, while it's not the most advanced art that you would see there, it still doesn't make it bad. To me, art that we see online, especially from newer artists that are young and still learning, feels more like a sketchbook or the progression of somebody becoming a better artist. And this itself can be also a form of artistic endeavor, because you're quite literally seeing like the diary of an artist going from when they couldn't even draw a hand to becoming a full-fleshed anatomy masterlord. But art itself is disturbing online. There's some art out there online that honestly not even I can stomach by the way it looks, but it still comforts some people.
As Banksy once said, art is meant to disturb the comforted and comfort the disturbed.
Now, what exactly do I mean by this? You know, you can argue that internet art is like really silly. Like, for example, you can say that, I don't know, furry inflammation porn art, one of the weirdest arts out there. It's actually, it's a talk on capitalism and the grotesqueness of overconsumption. This is what I mean. Everything is different out there. Or, I don't know, maybe furry art, like, tickles your pickle, but that's none of my business, honestly. Art is meant to be weird and different. It can go from realism to abstract to literal absurdism. It can be anything that you want it to be, and you can expand on it, obviously, any way you can. There is no good or bad art. There is just art that you like personally and art that you don't like personally. You just have to find the art that really tickles your pickle, the art that makes you happy, that makes you really think, and really see how art is different and out there. Now, of course, the art that you might like might be the old classics, some Renaissance art, maybe the Greek sculptures or the paintings from the monarchs of the English Empire. Or maybe the new art that you like is your favorite fandom fan art that you see by your favorite artist, or maybe animations by your favorite cartoon show and the art book that they're publishing of it. Art is so vastly different, and it's made for many different peoples in different walks of life. And it's something that should be loved and seen by everybody. When we start making art into what is good or bad categories, it does not only lead to many people being outcasted and not being allowed to enjoy the things they do, but it also leads to just messiness in the art community and like everything that we see, because it's not about good or bad art. It's about how beautiful art is and what we can learn from it. And just don't fall for it, you know? Art is much more diverse and beautiful than everyone makes it seem. Anyways, if you stayed this long, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I want to say a special thanks to everybody that watched my video on the gentrification of art. It literally took me a while to do it, and I was really happy for all the comments I got. If you guys want to comment or say something, you can down below, or not. I don't really freaking care. And anyways, see you nerds, and remember, stay bright.